There we go. Game 3. So this is using the Corp deck that I drafted in the first video in this series. And got a pretty good start here. Got some ice, and got a couple of my hedge funds, which is great. I have 3 hedge funds in the deck. Draft format, you can have any number of a single card in your deck. So it would be possible to have 4 or 5 hedge funds, although that is probably unlikely to happen, as that's a card that a lot of people are going to want. I'm just going to keep mine.
I will mulligan.
Okay. David here decides to mulligan. Mandatory. So David actually used to run the tournaments at Games of Berkeley, where I host tournaments. And I took over that, and Martin Presley also helps me with that. So hedge fund off the start. A nice little burst of money. Now I'm just deciding where to put dice. So I also have a Nisei. So this is a really good start. I could possibly score out that Nisei by like turn 3. If things work out. So I decided not to put the Neural Katana on HQ because I do have an agenda in there, so I'd rather just flat out stop the run. And so I'm prepping for a turn 3 Nisei score out here. So he has a couple quality times in his open hand round. He has an Imp, Force of Nature, and then what is that last one? Is that Data Sucker? So this draft format is really interesting in that a card like Force of Nature that people generally view as not a great card, the runners might end up picking that. Alright, so he steals a Beal on the second click. Yeah, something like Force of Nature is a pretty decent card in this format. So he's in a Dawn's campaign, just deciding how he wants to trash it. Okay. Decides to save the imp tokens. Alright, sees a Biotic Labor and he imps it. So that was a pretty good opening turn for him.
Pretty good turn.
Scored out a Beal, trashed a few cards.
Okay.
And if I install that Nisei, unless if he's out of money, I think that's a wall static there protecting that remote, so it's a pretty safe bet I could score it. I just have to survive another assault on R&D, but I have ice to help with that, so I'm in a pretty good position. I'm going to want a hedge fund probably, but if I hedge fund I can't install the ice. Yeah, so I decided to save the hedge fund. Install. Which I would have liked to use the hedge fund just because I have enough money to trigger it right now, but I can't protect the R&D and do the hedge fund and score out the agenda, so I had to pick 2. Alright, so keeping that Nisei safe. And he doesn't have a way in with the cards he has now. So his best bet, he's going R&D, and I probably can't res that and score out the Nisei. So then I have to decide if I could let the Nisei sit there for a whole nother turn, if I res this.
This is your second click.
Yep. I forget what card this is. Yeah, so I decided to res Neural Katana. I figure he has no money. I could get 3 net damage here, clear out, kill both his quality times there. And shut down future. So he sees a Chimera, he's deciding if he wants to trash it. Decides to keep it. Now I can't afford to res this, so he's getting an HQ.
No res.
I don't think I have anything in there I care about too much. So, yeah, so he's going to imp that. That's unfortunate. That represents a big part of my economy right now, and having that card was part of my plan of recovering from this this turn. So we're both at a bit of a stalemate here.
The mandatory draw.
So I don't have a good play in this turn. I just build up some money. So Nisei is just sitting there, just hoping that he doesn't draw a card that allows him to go steal it.
Okay.
So now he's going to start having economy here. And unfortunately, if I screw out that Nisei, I am not going to have economy. But it feels too risky to let it sit there for another turn after I've invested so much in it already. And invested a click to install it, a click and a credit to advance it, and then 3 credits to res the ice wall in addition to the click to install the ice wall. So that's the math on that.
2 credits and a 3rd click. I will install.
But I decide it's safe for another turn. Or I hope it's safe for another turn. Which it looks like it probably will be. If he draws a card, if he drew a corroder, install a corroder, get money, get in, I think he'd be able to do it. But now at this point, he'd have to draw something like an inside job. Wow, so he had 2 sure gambles there. Alright, so he just sets up his future turns here. So I remember to res the pad campaign before my turn gets going here. And I advance 3 times. Score out an Nisei. Now I just need some good ice to make that Nisei really useful. Might be able to leverage that Nisei to score another Nisei.
Oh no, Nisei's quite good.
But it's going to be at least another like 3 turns so I could score that out. Next turn I just got to get some money. Turn after I could possibly install advance and then score it out in the following turn. But I gotta hope that the runner's game state doesn't change too much by then. Seems unlikely to happen. So I don't think I could res that. I think it's an enigma. Oh, and he takes it. It's a 1 in 3. So it's gonna happen. He decides just to go see what else I got hiding there.
You could Nisei me if you want.
He's saying I could use the Nisei token, remind me, but yeah, I don't have any more agendas at this point. And it's really hard to justify using a Nisei token when he could easily get back into the server. It feels like a waste. I'd rather take a chance. With a 1 in 3 chance of an agenda, I'll let him keep coming in rather than waste a Nisei token, because the upside is so good if he doesn't take the agenda. It makes him think that there's not an agenda in hand, which is an advantage. If he keeps coming in and he sees the other 2 cards. And I really want to leverage that Nisei token to score out an agenda. So get the Panda campaign money. There's an Eve campaign. This is good. I really need to protect it though, because if I don't have ice protecting the Eve, he still has Armitage money. He could go and trash it. And I get out this money here is very important. I take 1 money because on my next turn, hopefully what will happen is that pad campaign will pay out. And then I can res the Eve campaign with my 5 money. And then I have both those drip economies going. But unfortunately, he ruins that plan right off the start by killing the pad campaign. And I probably should have seen that coming. Just he had enough money to do that. And yeah, I didn't... I wasn't protecting the pad campaign. So he goes and sees it. Yeah, he decides not to trash it. I can't res on my next turn, so it would be a whole nother turn after that, at which point that would start paying out. So he decides he'd rather keep his econ now to put pressure on me rather than dumping it at all, giving me a shot to score out an agenda maybe.
Alright, I will take the mandatory draw.
I draw a PSF. Shot in the hand there. He only has a force of nature. So he really needs his Crypsis, or he needs basically needs a Sentry Breaker and a Barrier Breaker or a Crypsis to really put pressure on me.
Second click.
I think Force of Nature gets through Enigma for not too much money.
Third click.
It definitely costs 2, but it might cost 3. I forget the numbers in Force of Nature. I don't see that card too often. So I make sure to have 5 credits at the end of my turn.
Draw second click.
Just so I could get that Eve campaign rezzed.
Piece ups.
So he's spending a little bit of time here just setting up his board for the late game, which is not far away. The late game is never far away in draft. So I've already, there's, I don't know, probably 6 cards in my archives, another 5 on the table, another 5 in hand. It's a lot of cards I've already seen.
7.
So he has 11 money. In order for this Eve campaign to survive, I gotta put a low, like another wall of static would be great. Install wall of static, take a credit, take another credit. Something like that would be, I'd have a chance at protecting that Eve campaign. I have some ice, I can't quite tell what it, so I have a Chimera. Yeah, I guess that was the only ice I had that I'd even be able to res.
And then
So it's not really what I want to see to protect the Eve campaign, but it was the only ice I had that would help in that scenario. So he sells off the Imp. Could tell that David is a Anarch player. He has a lot of the kind of Anarch cards. I would think an Anarch player would see Aesops and want to grab it. Or I see Aesops and I'm just not even interested really. Been playing a lot of Criminal recently. Alright, so I res the Enigma because I do have a couple agendas in hand. But unfortunately that means I cannot protect that Eve campaign, which is my only source of econ. But I couldn't really let him get into HQ for free because the win is in my hand. I have 2 agendas in hand, so that's all he needs to win. So he kind of presented me with a lose-lose scenario there. But if he ignores the Eve campaign, then I have a chance. Alright, so he said he has like 6 copies of Cortex Chip. But he puts Cortex Chip down. At the very least, he gets sold off to Aesops.
Okay.
You could just hold on to it until he needs it, though, and maybe it'll be useful. It's especially useful when I don't have that much money. So he lets the Eve campaign sit around.
Okay. First click, I'll take credit. Second and third click, I'll advance. Score it out. Well done.
So I don't know why I did that. I'm trying to figure out.
Oh, I do have to discard something.
Maybe because I wanted to install another agenda in that server, and I figured that he wasn't as worried about Eve campaign. I'm not sure why I did that. That was not a huge priority for me to score that at that point in time. And it was still protected. You know, he couldn't get into that server with the cards that I was seeing. I think it would have been better to at least have 2 money there at the end of the turn. It's just then I'd be able to protect the Eve campaign. But see, that Chimera needs to be replaced pretty soon. Because if I'm paying 2 money to res it each turn, then that's kind of where my Eve campaign money is going. It's not actually building econ. So he's gonna mod out his Force of Nature to give him HQX. It looks like that's what's going. Yeah. Oh, Nerve Agent. He's
Okay.
gets Nerve Agent for free. That is a Force of Nature he has. Yeah, he definitely has a Force of Nature. Okay, so he's thinking ahead. Yeah, he could just install a Force of Nature and then run on through. Start building up Nerve Agent tokens. Still got those agendas in hand. So this is like the worst thing that I could possibly. I would much rather see him like pay to get into R&D now. That would cost him some money, and yeah, building up Nerve Agent tokens at this point. Oh, so he gets a Gordian Blade. That's probably cheaper. That's cost him 2 to get. Yeah, he's sure that he has a Gordian Blade now instead of that Force of Nature. I think that only cost him 2 to get in instead of Force of Nature is probably 3. And if he runs in his last click with Gordian, and it only costs him 1. Okay, so I drew just another piece of ice. Not really improving my situation here too much. This was the day for me. I had ice and agendas, and not a lot of econ. Just couldn't really get the asset econ going. Runners seem really focused on trashing that.
Okay.
Keeping the pad campaigns and Eve, and keeping all the campaigns suppressed.
Advance, and then take a credit.
Alright, so I think that was the PSF. Just hoping that he doesn't have what he needs to get in there. There's a good chance he would by now. So Aesop's the code busting. Alright, here's where this starts, and I saw this coming. So I think I needed to start scoring out that PSF just because I saw the Nerve Agent. I saw that he's starting to start focusing on HQ. So I needed to get it out of my hand. I could let him take the false lead, but I can't let him to get that PSF.
No. Okay. Come on, man.
Oh, and he gets on the first pull. Alright, well that solves my Nerve Agent problem. Oh yeah, I remember this play. This was so depressing. Because I had that...
Run that remote, but I will just chip it.
Okay, so this is the last click. I should have used a Nisei token.
Okay.
But I didn't, and I lost. So I could have used that Nisei token. I could have scored out the PSF. I just realized that too late. I think I realized that in about another 20 seconds or so. Yeah, I needed the aggressive Secretary, and of course, it's the very last card. Aggressive Secretary would have been great. Even in that scenario, it would have been great. Because I could have killed his Gordian Blade, and then that Nerve Agent's not doing anything. So yeah, I should have used a Nisei token there. That was a huge mistake. There was no reason not to, because he was going to win. I mean, what I did do is I kind of said, do you want to access? I was trying to make it look like it was possibly a trap to bait him out. But I did totally forget about the Nisei token, and that just would have been the smarter play there.
Wait, what click did you run on there?
Yes, here's where I realized. So that was a big mistake in this game.
It's okay.
And it's okay. Sometimes happens.
I messed up.
And that's the third game. So I've not won a game yet in this, and there's one game left. So hopefully I could pull out one win with this. Admittedly, I don't know, garbage Corp deck. I don't think it was very good. Really looking forward to draft again as Corp, so I could try and make a better deck. But this game did not have Crypsis, so that Chimera, some of my ice that I didn't think was that good because of Crypsis could have been good in this game. He didn't draw Crypsis either, I don't think. I assume he has one or two in there, though. Anyway, that's the game. Thanks for watching, and look out for the final game.